Okay, this training video is going to be on some new features that have been added to the little edge form. Okay, so again, our pencil button, click it, and then if we go and select an object, it pulls up the CADWorks information regarding that object. Okay, you notice now we've got some new buttons across the top. One of the buttons is called copy. Okay, when I copy, it's going to take all the data that's here and it's going to copy it into a temporary file that sits on your computer. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and close. Now, if I click on this object, since it was not an intelligent object yet, in other words, it hadn't been generic attached yet, it brings up this form. Okay, we've seen that before. We're going to use the centroid, or if I had a point that I wanted to be the center of gravity, I could choose that. But in most cases, the centroid is appropriate. Now, if this is carbon steel, or maybe this is concrete or something like that, I can pick one of these and it will use the geometry of this object to find a volume and then use the weight for carbon steel applied to that volume to automatically insert the correct weight onto this. Okay, generic is what we normally do. S generic would be for steel. Now we've already seen the spec, but I'm going to go ahead and let it go to the GNR spec. So now I'm going to click generic, and it's already converted that. Now formerly we had selected that skid. Notice if I hit paste now, it drops in those values. Okay, I'm going to cancel out of that, and I'm going to go back and do the generic attach again. Okay, use centroid, carbon steel, generic attach, and if I wanted to, now I can type in a description. Okay, alright, so now that item is intelligent. Okay, notice the weight 23,878. That is assuming that this whole object is a solid piece of steel, so that's why it's 23,000. So it automatically calculated that for you. Okay, now you got to keep in mind that it's going to use the weight as defined by the geometry at the time you do a generic attach. If you were to go in and then stretch this or something, it's not going to update that weight. That weight is static, calculated at the time you do it. So this could be useful for things like on a compressor where you've got sections of the skid that are concrete filled. You could just go in there and draw a solid that encompasses that void, and then do a generic attach, call it concrete. Now it's added the weight, calculated it, locates the center of gravity at the center of mass, and now whenever I run my CG and weight calculations on that skid with CADWorks, it's going to be correctly defined. And I can also run a bill of materials, and literally those components are all coming out on a bill of materials with, called out as concrete or whatever I define it as. So we've got this item here. Okay, we defined it. I'm going to go ahead and hit copy, and then I'm going to cancel, and now I'm going to select this item, and once again I'm going to use centroid, generic, and now I'm going to paste, and it pastes in this description. I'm going to go ahead and I can say check changed. Okay, and I can say uncheck all, but what I do want to write is these two values that are changed, and I'm going to update. Okay, so now this object is generic attached, and the description that we'd entered is copied to it. Okay, for that matter, and then I could go into a whole new drawing, and I can have an object here, and again I can generic attach to anything. So I'm going to select that, use centroid, generic attach. Notice the weight is 0 because there is no mass. And if I hit paste, Now it's brought in that description, and whenever I say update, now that description has been copied. So the point of that is that we can actually copy from one drawing to another. In fact, I can do a copy, shut down my computer, come in the next morning and do a paste, and it's there because it literally writes that to a file that's saved on a temp folder somewhere. And so it's always there until you overwrite it with the next time you copy. Okay. All right, I'm going to close that. All right. So we've got update. We also, previously we've seen the search where we can go and search the item master. So if I wanted to call this a flange, and I insert that, I want to check the items that have changed and then update. Okay. Now that object is a flange for all practical purposes. If I wanted to, I could copy. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Just canceled out. If I wanted to, I could copy that now and then close out, and then I can come back to this item and paste, and now I've copied that information to this. Okay. I must check the changed items and update. Okay, so that changes to little edge, kind of the generic attach, and particularly the fact that it's calculating the weight based on the material selection. So that concludes this training. Thanks.